Hi, I'm Megan.
And I'm Leah.
And today we're going to be interviewing our best friend, Gretta Ray, about her album, Begin to Look Around.
Alrighty, let's get her down here. Hello, welcome.
Thanks for having me in your home.
Of course, anytime. So for the first question, in an interview, you said that we were on the Amalfi Coast and that we met up with an Italian man.
Oh no.
Now, and this Italian man is in the end of Worldly Wise in the note.
He is, yes. Okay, so the truth about Biagio. Biagio was actually a middle-aged man that approached us on the beach, didn't speak a word of English, was in quite revealing Speedos. But look, the main thing is that Biagio has a feature on Worldly Wise in a voice memo that I took on the beach that day of you two speaking to him. And that's the truth about Biagio. As soon as I played Worldly Wise to you guys, the first thing that you said was, how do we let Biagio know that he has a feature? Oh my
He needs
God.
to get his royalties.
Biagio, if you're watching, we miss you.
So in Cherish, you mentioned the questions I should never ask. What are these questions?
That's a good question. I actually feel like I should have been asked that in interviews and no one's ever asked that. Because it does kind of mean
I think we've landed ourselves.
very well. Questions I should never ask are all that I seem to ponder lately. That lyric came from, I think when a relationship isn't working, internally, like you're asking yourself all of these questions about like, oh, so what should I have to do to make sure that person's still happy? How can I work around this thing in order to make that keep working? Like just a lot of compromising and a lot of considering things in a way that it's only in favor for the other person rather than actually thinking about like, oh, but what do I want for me? And I feel like at that point I was asking a lot of questions to myself about like, how am I going to keep this thing afloat? Like, how am I going to make this work? And then you have this little voice you don't want to listen to, or voices. That is kind of like, yeah, but what about the actual employment question, which is like, what do you want and how do you think you deserve to be treated? If this wasn't a good place, like, I wouldn't be thinking those things.
So we had 2 trips to Europe in 2018, 2019. If you could pick out like one moment in the trip that you reckon like kind of like helped define the album or like redefine the album, helped guide it in any way.
It's got to be Biagio on the beach.
Yeah.
Don't worry about Paris. Don't worry about Paris.
Not Paris.
Go about that. Oh my goodness. I feel like the album would have been really different had we not done those trips, because I feel like there's that tone of travel and kind of growing up and finding yourself and your independence in the world was so exemplified by those trips that we went on. Moments though, one of them actually is the day that we were in Nice on the second trip. We went to the beach and I had to swim.
Oh, the main character.
The main character moment, see?
Yeah.
That was a good swim, it was a good moment. Yeah, I had to swim in my undies. Anyway, it felt very kind of like, I'm traveling, I'm swimming in my undies and with my girlfriends and wow, what a world. Yeah.
So there was one song on the album that we were particularly excited for. The one that you hear the first time and you're instantly in love with it, Love Me Right.
Serve me like a savior. Cling to me like it is the last time you can. Enliven me like a stranger.
We saw this song develop so much, even to the point that when we had a Zoom with your manager Sam the other day, he played us the very first demo and it's a completely different song except for the chorus. And so you take the chorus and you turned it into pretty much, oh god, like 100 different songs, but yeah.
Serve me like a savior. Cling to me like it is the last time you can. Enliven me.
Love Me Right would not be the song that it is if it weren't for the conversations that I had with you guys about Love Me Right. For a while, the song narrative-wise was about reuniting with someone, and that whole idea of like, now you need to love me right was kind of in there, but it wasn't like the most prominent thing. And then I wrote the second version with Dylan Nash, And I loved those melodies, but I still felt like it wasn't there, and I took it to my booking agent and he went, verses are an 8, choruses a 10. And I was like, hey, I'm still not there yet. I did another version with Robbie and I rewrote the verses and the pre's again, but like really different. And I was in the thick of making the album at that point. But then I went around, you were house sitting, and I went around and I was like, I've got this dilemma, I've got the second and third write of this song I'm really excited about. You said, play both and don't tell us which one is which.
Yeah.
I think after they finished, you looked at me and you went, I don't think you're gonna like the answer that we're gonna give. And it was the version before. So I was like, okay, that's great, but also, I don't know, I think when you hear feedback, sometimes you're like, oh my God, I have so much more work to do. And just the thought of that is enough to want to dismiss it. Then I think I rewrote it one more time on my own and it still wasn't there. And then I had to go back to Matt Hales, who I made the first demo with that you guys heard recently. And he was like, well, sounds like your life has changed in terms of the narrative of this song. He was like, do you still want this to be a song about reuniting with someone? And I was like, I just assumed that I should because that's where it started. He was like, well, it doesn't sound like you have those feelings within you anymore. He's like, you might need to sing from where you're at now. And so I went away and got the 5th rewrite of Love Me Right. Yeah, brought it back to you guys and it was totally different. But it had those melodies, it had that, I think it had the essence of, like a lot of the essence of the second version.
Yeah.
But the confidence that always was within the chorus is now throughout the rest of the song.
Yeah. I suppose like going back to the end of the album, suddenly like Careless especially, I can remember you sending me the song and there were these lyrics in there that are pretty like, listen to the song. And really what we wanted to know is what is it like having these songs on this album that sort of, the earlier songs represent how you felt a few years ago. I mean, you're sort of separate from the person that you were when you were writing some of these songs.
It's interesting because I think maybe I thought that I would have more of a detachment from those songs because I wrote them so long ago, and because I don't relate to maybe the seed of those songs or how I was inspired by them, but there are so many other memories associated with those songs for me that go beyond the narrative, like the initial narrative of them. So I think in that sense, my relationship with the songs, kind of I have like a healthier relationship with them, I guess, because it's kind of like I can think of them beyond my own story. And now that the album is out, you know, I know what they mean to other people. And that's kind of why I want to keep making music. Like the songs can be there for me when I need them. And I love that, but I think that's why I just so can't wait until I can play shows because I can see what they mean to other people. And it's a nice little circle of life thing, I suppose.
So this is a question submitted by my cousin Zali, who is eavesdropping right now. She and we wanted to know, in The Brink, you have a lyric about the first long drive. Is this a direct reference to Drive, and why?
Want you to think fondly of the first long drive.
Zali! Damn it.
Secret is out.
I mean, right? No one knew. No one has made that connection. The time in my life when Drive was doing its thing, that was definitely a period of time where there was some newness in my life in terms of certain relationships and things that would then carry me to a place that would, you know, eventually lead me to begin to look around. But I definitely wanted to kind of contrast the blissful state that I'd created in the song Drive. Well, not necessarily contrast it, but kind of reference it in The Brink because I wanted there to be this lyric that kind of demanded to the person that it was to, you know, this think about the good thing, think about the happy thing, think about all the glittery positive things, because when a relationship is crumbling in the way that the one in The Brink is, it's like all you do is think about when everything was good. So that is definitely a little nod to that. And I don't know, I feel like next up I've got to write a song about like something that implies that I'm driving the car or that I'm, you know, like
Yes.
it's going to carry on. We do have a car now. We can't drive very well.
We are driving nonetheless.
Can't drive well, but we continue down the road.
So we've now got just a couple of hypothetical questions.
Oh.
If you were able to do a music video for another song on the album that you weren't able to,
Unless, of course, it is the next music video. Don't spoil that.
Yeah. I think it would either be for Worldly Wise or Careless, I think. I remember like picturing the Careless music video after I wrote the song a lot. And I was like, well, how nice would it be? Because for me, it was always kind of very like summery. And I was like, oh, how good would it be if we did this on the beach or like in LA or something? Like, and they just had this like free, dreamy energy to it. So that would be cool. And for Worldly Wise, like, I do feel kind of robbed that I wasn't able to make any content outside of, you know, small spaces with limited numbers of people.
Yeah.
And I would have loved to shoot, you know, a music video in Paris or a music video in London and really kind of, yeah, acknowledge those places that contributed to inspiring the record. And I feel like, you know, if I was able to do one for Worldly Wise, because for me that song sums up like our trips, it sums up, you know, my relationship with London and just kind of that general sense of like getting out into the world, that would be something I feel like I owed to the album in like a visual aesthetic sense. So,
yeah, one day.
One day.
Europe trip part 3.
Let's go! Biagio. We're coming.
God! Okay. If you were able to play one song from your album to little 15-year-old Greta as like big sister advice, what would it be?
Maybe it would be The Cure. Drive. I feel like this will give you a job. Let me just fast track this song. Right now. Yeah. True. We just give you 12. You know, you write this now. Gotta work. No, it would probably be, I think it would be The Cure, because I feel like my 15-year-old self, like, sonically would have really liked that one in terms of what music I listened to around that age. Also, I've always said that The Cure is kind of like, if there's a song that is like me in a song on Begin to Look Around, it's The Cure.
Yeah.
Also covers a lot of stuff that I would have liked to have told myself then, I think, as well. It's like this song highlights the things that you actually will care about always, and the things that are important, like travel and music and yeah, and being okay without certain someone's advice, you know, and I think that that would have been a good thing to tell myself then.
Quick fire questions. First one is Love Me Right or Careless?
Oh, Love Me Right.
Amazing. Cherish or The Cure?
The Cure.
One American artist you'd like to collab with?
Oh, Taylor Swift.
Of course. One lyric from the album that summarizes all of Begin to Look Around.
That's all heartache is, disorientation.
Nice.
Which one was the easiest to write?
The Brink.
Which song took the longest?
Love Me Right.
And finally, you get the chance to collab with 3 Aussie musicians, but it's all in the one song. Who are you choosing?
Oh my gosh. Ty Levi, Gab Strum, Japanese Wallpaper, and Morat, because I feel like that would be like such a cool session, and we could props set that up. Yeah, hell yeah.
You have to do it now.
Okay.
Contractually
Guys,
obligated.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah, that was the whole point of this whole thing.
The best part. And that is the end of the interview.
You guys did so well. They were great questions. Thank you for caring about my album and me as much as you do. I really appreciate it.
Back to who I was before. I'm crying out for the